Hey guys, welcome back. I wanted to make a video about a little bit of I guess a hack that I came up with for either a micromotor or a flex shaft that allows you to do some cool texturing and also a few other things, actually a lot of other things. And it only requires a cheap $8 part, so I thought I'd make a video. Some of you guys might appreciate it. So in order to make this, the first thing you need to do is buy a 6-inch linear rail. You can get them pretty much all the online stores. I got mine on AliExpress. I think it was like $8. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the linear rail and you are going to then find a square piece of material. I used an old piece of plastic here, but really you could use anything, wood, whatever. And you're going to take the linear rail, which is this here, and you're going to screw it to the base material. The linear rail is 6 inches, and this piece of plastic that I have here is 6 inches by 6 inches. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get another piece of material. Could be wood, plastic, whatever scrap material you have, and you're going to cut it into a square. This is about 2 3/4. Actually, I know it's exactly 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. You're going to drill 4 holes in it, and those 4 holes are going to match the carriage that comes with the linear rail. And you are going to screw the carriage to the bottom of this piece of whatever you happen to have laying around your house. All right, next you're going to take some thermoplastic. I'm using Instamorph, but it's the same stuff as, what's the GRS one? Thermolock, I think it's called. Anyway, if you make jewelry and you don't have this thermoplastic stuff, get it, because it's just amazing. You could do everything with it. If you don't know what it is, it's basically these plastic pellets that are hard at room temperature, and when you put them in hot water, they get soft temporarily until they cool off, and then it gets hard again. So I have some in some hot water here. I'm gonna pull it out, and while it's hot, and it's still, you see it's pliable while it's hot, you're gonna wrap it around your flex shaft or micromotor, and then you are going to, where's my plate? You're going to, after you wrap it around your micromotor, you're going to stick it to whatever material you have and mold it into shape. As a matter of fact, I want it this way so I can take it. You know what? I'm going to stick it on here first. And when it's hot and you stick it to something, it stays there like glue. So then you put your micromotor or flex shaft while it's still hot, form it around like a cradle, and when it cools off, you are going to then take the carriage assembly and slide it onto the linear rail. And what you're going to be left with is a linear rail with sort of a carriage here to hold the micromotor. All right. Okay, so with this setup, you see the micromotor just locks in there. With this setup, you can do a lot of cool stuff. Where do I start? I mean, there's probably like hundreds of things you can do, but I'm just going to show you a few. So for one, you can put a diamond blade in here, and by cutting, you see I cut a groove in the table where the blade goes into. You now have a table saw. I know cutting metal with a jewelry saw, when you have really long cuts, it gets tiring. So with this setup, you now have an electric saw that can cut through sheet metal. If you have long straight cuts, this thing is amazing. You'll cut through the sheet metal super fast. So that's one use for it. Another thing that I like to use it for, really what I find is the best is, let me see what I can do here. Okay, so I've assembled a whole bunch of bits here to kind of give you just a rough idea of what this can do. But here, I have another plate here. You could use anything again for this. And I put a little bit of pitch on here. So I'm going to heat the pitch up. And while the pitch is hot, let's stick a piece of sheet metal in there. Okay. And now, let's try this bit. This is a grinding wheel. It's really hard to do this with the camera, but let me give it a shot. Okay, so what this does is you can grind textured patterns in a perfectly straight line, because now you're on a linear rail like this. And then you could advance it and do another line. You know what? I don't want to waste a bunch of time doing this. Let me just show you some of the examples that I did this way. It's really hard to do this because I have to lean over the camera while I'm doing it, so you get the idea. These are some of the examples that I did. This is one where it's just a striped pattern that has texture to it. If you tilt the wheel while you're cutting it and do it on angles, you can get like a wire wrap effect. Another one is like a radiating, if you go out from the center and turn it around. This one is really cool. This one, I'll do a close-up of all of these so you can see them better. While you're cutting straight lines, you push up and down, so it creates peaks and valleys in the stripes. Let me show you some close-ups. So this is the one that looks like a wire wrap, which is really cool. This one is just straight bars. This one I just did basically straight across using two different tools. This is the one that is like a radiating pattern. And this one is also just straight bars across, but as you can see, it has like an organic texture. You achieve that by pushing up and down as you're cutting straight across. So this is one use for this setup. Let me show you another. First, let me show you some of the tools I'm using with this technique. I'm using a brass brush, a steel brush. Each one of these tools gives a different effect. A steel brush. I'm using a cutoff wheel for doing thin stripes. I have a thinner cutoff wheel for these. Give bright cuts, so whatever you cut with this leaves like a bright mirror finish. And this is also for even a thinner cut. Then I made a few tools. Oh, I'm using the diamond radial brush. This gives like a matte satin finish. And then I made a few tools like this one. I cut it out of steel. This one is really cool. I'll show you what this one does in a minute. When this one's running, it leaves, because of those, if you spin it this way, it leaves like a diamond dust effect where it looks like almost like a bright hammered texture. This one's really cool. I have another one with only two prongs. This one I made. This one gives a hammered effect. And this one, it just gives like a really super thin, bright line. These I all made from steel, but you could use over-the-counter bits too, because I use also diamond-coated bits I use. And I had one more here. Oh, a standard end mill, carbide end mill. These leave bright cuts also. So let me show you what else you can do with this. Oh, and stone wheels also. These stone wheels, these work really well. All right, let me show you something else. Okay, so instead of using square pieces to mount your work on, instead you can make a round piece. Drill a hole in the center and put a bearing inside the center. That bearing you can get at Home Depot. I think it's a 3/8 bearing, and they're like $1. They have them at most hardware stores in like the miscellaneous drawers or whatever. So you pop a bearing in a round piece. Again, this could be anything, wood, whatever. And then you do the same thing with another one, but you drill a smaller hole. And in this, you're gonna find a screw. You're gonna push a screw through the bearing, and you're gonna pop this the second plate on top of it, and now what you have is a turntable. Okay? So we're gonna do the same thing as we did to the square piece of material. We're gonna put pitch on here. We're gonna heat up some pitch, and we're gonna stick another piece of metal in here, and I'll show you what you can do with the turntable. All right, let's try this. As you can see, it's on the plate. I'm gonna try with a grinding wheel. Let's see how that one goes. So essentially, you just, let me lower it a little bit. You just get the plate spinning. Then you can move it to another position. Now you could just keep switching through your tools if you want. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. What else can we try here? Let's try the thin cutoff wheel. Another thing that I was playing around with that works, see, it's starting to come together. I use a graver, but I use that on a later step. But once I have a significant pattern put in here, while it's spinning, you can put your graver to the metal, and it'll also put cuts in the metal. So actually, let me show you that. Damn it, it's so hard with the camera. Damn it. Alright, that one popped off. But you sort of get the idea. You know what? Let me show you another one of the tools. I could actually pop this back on there. Let me show you another one of the tools that leaves the like the diamond dust effect, because I find the best results are found through combining all the different tools. So let me get this back on there. Oh, now it's not centered anymore. Actually, that's not going to work. Let me put a different metal on. Let me try some copper, show you what copper looks like. All right, I got a piece of copper set up here. Let's give this a shot. Let's see how this goes. I think the speed is too high on my micromotor. Let me lower it a little bit. Let's try the grinding wheel now. You know what? We'll use Let's do the grinding wheel, and then we'll switch to this really thin bit that I made. I like the way that one looks. Alright, let's switch to this bit. See how this one works. And then I want to show you something. Another thing, you can apply patinas very selectly on while it's spinning. That looks really cool. I'll show you that next. You know what? It's hard to... I'm going to have to sort of cram all of them on one, so it's hard to make one piece that looks really good, but it's sort of, hopefully this gives you an idea of what's possible. And I'm leaning over the camera to do this, and it's really hard, guys, but hopefully you're getting the idea. This one adds thin lines, but texture. It kind of gives it a three-dimensional look when this one's done. Alright, let me add the one that that gives it this one. This one gives it like a diamond dust effect. It's really cool. Gotta do it slower though. I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom in a minute so you can sort of see that effect that it gives it. All right, let me show you the patina. I'll show you what that looks like. Let me grab a brush. Okay, so what I have is a little cup of patina here, and I have a little paintbrush. So I dip the paintbrush in the patina, and then while it's spinning, you just apply the patina where you want it. You see, you get the idea. And now what I like to do is I then take the very fine bit that I have. Where is it? Where did it go? Oh, here it is. And then I go over the patinaed areas again. microphone's having trouble catching. But anyway, hopefully this gives you an idea of some of the options you can make with this. This is the one that failed, but I actually tried to center it again. I tried to cut it again while it was off center, and it created like a swirl pattern, which I think is actually kind of cool. You could do that intentionally. You could run a spiral and then off center it slightly, and then run another spiral, or run several smaller spirals sort of linking into one another. There's so many options you can do with this. I just put this together today, so I'm sure there's tons of other options you can come up with by combining different tools and different techniques, maybe different jigs. Anyway, hopefully you got something from this video. As always, if you got something from this, all I ask is that you subscribe. That's a good deal, guys. I make the video, all you gotta do is subscribe. Alright guys, have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.